Good evening, sports fans, Cardiff City fans in particular. You might have noticed there's just me, one Ben so far. The other Ben should be online soon, but I thought I'd join, start talking to you guys, show you that we're live, and the other Ben can drive home from the ground because he's one of those idiots who actually went to the game tonight to endure that shambles. And then he'll join when he gets home. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Twitter, you can comment. The comments are coming through to me here. If you are on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our channel. This is the first time we've ever done a live stream, I think, on YouTube. We have posted our podcast and stuff on there. But this is the first time we're going live. So thank you for joining us if you are joining us. I could see people flooding in. The numbers are rising up. So I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to get into the stream. Hopefully by then, Ben will have joined. I'm sure he's going to be in a delightful mood. But thank you to everyone who's been spamming the chat already. We've got a few comments already. We've got Kef saying, just do a quiz, lad. If I'd known the game was going to be that bad, I would have done a quiz. I do have an old quiz I can do with Ben when he joins, but it's throwing it back to when Errol Bullock got sacked, which feels like a long time ago now, and yet here we are. We'll keep the conversation going. Baker Boy says Bluebird, spelt with several O's. That's the way to do it. And we'll just let Ben Price join. But yeah, I think we said we would do this. Apologise. It's, to quote Timberland, as I always do, it's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without a podcast to listen to. But life has gotten in the way in the last few weeks. We thought we would be doing this live stream tonight after a triumphant victory over second bottom of the table, QPR, who hadn't won since August 30th. But we didn't win. In fact, we lost to a guy who hadn't scored a goal all season. Seller, I think his name was, the guy who scored it. 2 lovely goals. But of course, the guy who hasn't scored all season scores against us. Adam Hellier has asked, didn't see the game tonight. Was it as bad as the scoreline suggests? Listen, I'll talk about this more in detail with Ben Price when he joins. But for me, it was a laboured performance. There was no attacking intent. When we kept the ball, we would pass it around quite nicely, but we wouldn't do anything with it. The chances we had were at best half chances. I think Colwell forced a decent save from a long distance shot. I mean, you and Hopkins and Kev have both said yes in response to that comment, so they're doing a better job of giving you a concise answer, Adam. But I need to just kind of fill in the blanks here while waiting for Ben. Willock went close with a shot that went over the top. Robinson forced a decent save from the keeper, but none of them were particularly clear-cut chances or chances that you think that we would put away on other circumstances. Matt James says, we're so back, brackets derogatory. We are back in the doldrums. There's a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've been away for a few weeks. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the managerial position. There's some tweets around already saying potentially it could be the end of Riza. We don't know what's going on with the managerial position. Me and Ben will talk about that in more detail. We'll get through all the kind of transfer kind of gossip that's going on at the moment with Malachi Fagan-Walcott potentially leaving for York. Obviously, January's not that far away. There are still rumours about who the manager might be if we are to bring in a new manager, but who can say at this moment? Phil Jones says we were rubbish all over the park. No leaders. Our captain is useless, about as much as useless as an ashtray on a motorbike. I'm absolutely seething in that display, or the lack of it. Reece Williams says Colwell shouldn't be anywhere near the first team. Overrated is an understatement. Miles Besson, I got out of there on the 80th minute in the car on the way home by the time the second went in. Yeah, I think he did the right thing, Miles. It was an abject performance. I've seen a few people suggest that at the end of the game, Riza was clapping the fans as if it was potentially a goodbye. It's just not clear about what's going on at the moment with the managerial position. It's absolutely ridiculous. We are so far into this Omar Riza experiment that the bookies are now paying out on him being the permanent manager. I think the bookies have a limit of 10 games from a caretaker manager being installed to a manager taking the place, and then they'll pay out the bets. And as an idiot, I put on some bets to kind of cover my back with potentially Ruben Sellers coming in and all that kind of stuff, but they didn't come off and I've lost my money because of it. Wayne Richards, Riza, it's time to step down. No, the Cardiff job is too big for you at the moment. Tomasinho Norman says it's clear that nothing is happening. You and Hopkins have to imagine that the board are holding on for Bilic in January. Got to wonder if the board's lack of confidence in Riza is making its way onto the pitch now. Certainly feels that way to me. I think if you look over the past few weeks, obviously the Norwich game was the pinnacle of this. It felt like the Norwich performance was the start of something. We came back very late. O'Dowd scored those 2 goals. He kind of that late winner. Sorry, he gave the kind of interview after the game saying that all the players wanted Riza to get the job, talking about how happy they were and how excited they were. The players were playing with smiles on his faces. But since then, it's gone downhill, and you have to wonder whether if something behind the scene has happened in terms of him being told that he's not getting jobs. In terms of the club telling him that they're going after another manager if it is Bilic, which is what all the rumours suggest. But it just feels like something has been kind of sucked out of the team, whether it's the momentum, whether it's the life, whether it's the happiness. It's really hard to pinpoint what it is. But tonight just didn't look the same performance as it did 2-3 weeks ago. We looked completely abject. We looked separate from each other, and we didn't look like there was any kind of joined up thinking. Kev says we made over 500 passes, or did we attempt 500 passes? That was in response to Baker Boy. Over 500 passes tonight, creating next to nothing, very poor attacking. I've seen a few people suggesting that Callum Robinson was the problem, but when Callum Robinson's playing the kind of lone striker role, he's expected to do everything. He's expected to come deep to get the ball, to go wide to get the ball, and to get into the box. He's like, you can't have one striker doing all those jobs and expect him to score goals. It's just not the way it's going to work. It's just very poor all round. And you'll all be pleased to know that I don't have to waffle anymore, because my esteemed host Ben Price has made it home from the Cardiff City Stadium. I don't know how long you were watching me there for, Ben.
20 seconds. I wanted to see how long you were going to waffle for. If you realised I was there, but it was only 10 seconds.
Only 10 seconds. Well, I've made it to 6 minutes, 6:43, waffling by myself. So welcome, Ben. You have made the journey back from the CCS. You're now back in the warmth. What do you want to say to the people?
I can't feel my toes.
537 people listening, watching us right now. What's your overriding thought to the masses?
My feet are really, really cold. I think that's the biggest standout from this. Oh, it's freezing, mate. I go back to the car. I was like, right, bomb home, straight home. Nice, jobs are good. And parked on Hadfield Road. Got there, my car was frozen, frosted over. I was like, brilliant. So I had to deal with that. And yeah, that was the highlight of the evening, probably, defrosting the car.
What kind of socks did you wear?
I doubled up. So I've got some bench socks that my mother-in-law got me for Christmas a couple of years ago.
Nice.
And some Adidas Originals socks as well.
Beautiful.
So I doubled up.
Bubble.
Yeah, but still really, really cold. Poor circulation.
Yeah, Reece Spear was one of the first commenters. I kind of kept this waiting for us. He said, bin it off and get an early night, lads. I think that's a sensible approach, but we're here, Ben. So let's talk about the game we just watched and the game we just endured. I was saying I did start making notes about the game, about how bad
I enjoyed those notes.
Yeah, I will read them out verbatim. Rolls, Chainbow, Bagan in. Your man Kanga off the bench for your man Reindorf. Very bad first half. No urgency, no movement, no real clear-cut chances. Their goal, 4 players around him, and he still managed to turn and get the ball down and shoot and score. And that's all I've got. That's all the prep work I did for this. So we can talk about the game as much as we want, Ben, but the overriding opinion, as you can see from the comments and everything on Twitter, was that it was pretty shit, wasn't it?
Poor. Really, really poor. Flats just... It felt very Bullet-esque again.
Yes.
It felt like it went back to that very quickly. Frustrating lack of movement up top if we did try and get the ball forward. Players just looked clueless and short of confidence. And yeah, I think we were lucky QPR are quite poor, and otherwise they could have absolutely battered us, especially in that first half. They had enough chances to put it away. They were just shite.
Yeah.
Just a worrying night. Again, just the club reaping what it sows in many ways, isn't it?
It really is. I think Little Salt sums it up quite nicely with the comment that says what the F is this season. And I think where we've got to is a few weeks ago, obviously, we sacked Errol Bullock. A few months ago now, we sacked Errol Bullock. Omar Riza came in, put together a really good run. But, we were top of the form table for a little bit. But as Aaron Anderson points out here, the form table for the last game says it all. We've completely fallen apart, haven't we? And that performance tonight was the kind of culmination of the last 3 or 4 games where against Luton, we were slightly bullied out of it. Against Blackburn, we didn't really put anything together. And tonight, there was just no attacking intent, was there?
No. Anytime we got the ball forward, we either played it out wide, whipped it in to like a 5'10", 5'11" striker who's up against two 6'3", 6'4" striker defenders who won every battle there. Or we cut back inside, played it back out, and no one sort of moved around it, and we took a shot from 30 yards out that sort of didn't really
trundle towards the goalkeeper.
Yeah. And it was rinse and repeat. It was constant. It wasn't like a sort of individual bad performance either. I think every player had a stinker, near enough. I think Robinson worked really hard. O'Dowd tried to make stuff happen. But yeah, it was just players having an off night combined with just... It's not even like it was tactically set up bad. Like, I look at that starting 11, you think, that's not too bad, that. I'm all right with that for what we've got. It was just... It's a club set up to fail at the moment, isn't it? It's 2 months of uncertainty, a manager going out to meet the owner and nothing coming of it other than sort of he went to Malaysia for a few days. It doesn't seem anything else has happened on that front.
Well, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because he went to Malaysia and it just sounds like he went to Malaysia to say hello to Vincent Tan. I've seen a few people suggest that it wasn't even at Vincent Tan's behest that the guy went. Riza went off his own back to meet Vincent Tan and have a conversation, which has led to absolutely, if anything, it's led to less clarity about his position. What did he say?
I don't know. But
did he prefer Costa over Starbucks, something like that?
Must be. Or like he's like, just talking about, have you tried
Benny
coffee?
Rogers roasters his shit.
Yeah. It turns out Riza's a coffee snob and prefers independent coffee chains.
Yeah. Coffee number one.
They were talking coffee, and it turns out that Riza prefers Brody's to Starbucks, which is totally understandable. Big up Brody's.
Ben, you talk about the kind of team and how it started. John here says Rowell should never have started tonight. This is a game for Turnbull to move the ball quickly. Rowell could have been used on Saturday at Coventry. Obviously, Rowell is going to come back in. He's captain. He's going to come back in when he's fit and when he's ready to play. But he didn't have the best performance tonight, did he? And I think it wasn't for the want of trying from Rowell. What I always say about Joe Rowell is that he will always try. He will always look for the ball and always try and do something. But some of his passing, some of his crossing was just off, wasn't it?
I don't think he was that. I think it was far worse than Rawls tonight. I don't know if I'm just a Joe Rawls apologist. But there's a couple of lads behind me in the canton sort of saying they were really frustrated with Rawls, but I thought his corners were good. There was just no one getting on the end of them. Mm-hmm. Constantly looked for the ball, won the ball, sort of recycled possession quite well. Yeah, he did everything a Joe Rawls performance was. I think I was more disappointed with Robertson.
I didn't think Robertson was great.
Didn't get on the ball enough, just didn't look for it enough. The same with Cole, to be honest. I think there's a lot of individual performances there I'd single out. I can understand what he's saying about perhaps it wasn't the game for Rawls to start with, but Turnbull came on and didn't exactly do a lot either. I know he came on quite late, but yeah, it's not a sling mud at individual performances here. It's not even a sling mud at the manager. I think Riza set them up. It was just players low on confidence, low on belief, low on sort of fucks. They didn't look like not in a horrible sort of throwing toys at the pram. They're just sort of, they look as frustrated with everything as we are.
That's exactly what I was going to say, right? You know, when you're a player who's come in, consider someone like Alex Robertson, right? He came in during the summer when Bullock was in charge. Fair enough. Bullock went after 6 games. He wasn't good enough. He did sort of look good again under Riza. But now, if something's happened behind the scenes in terms of Riza's been told he's not getting the job or Riza's on his way out, then if you're a player playing under that situation, it's not going to be fun for you, is it? Because you don't really know what the long term looks like or what even next week looks like.
Yeah, we've all worked in places where the management situation's a problem and it affects your work. It's naturally going to happen with those players. And also, you're less likely to put 100% in when you know that manager's not going to be there, because I think there's zero chance of Riza getting this job permanently. I think if it was going to happen, it would happen by now. It feels very much like Tan's obsessed with the idea of Slaven Bilic coming in. We know he's not available till January, and Tan's just praying on hope that Riza keeps us afloat above water until January, where he could bring Bilic in, and Bilic gets paid again and doesn't lose his massive wedge he's getting from Qatar right now.
Yeah, I mean, The thing that worries me about that is that we are sliding down the table, and unless we've got, we must. The way they're talking, we must have Bilic lined up, right? He must have given us a verbal commitment already. I have no idea. I have no claim to be in the know in whatever way. But the way they're holding out for him, and the way that the kind of suggestions in the media are, is that we're holding out for him. What if he turned around tomorrow and just said, "No, I don't fancy it anymore. You guys are near the bottom of the table." Then we'd be screwed.
We'd get exactly what we deserved, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I said it's a club currently set up to fail. There's no long-term plan. And like Bilic comes in January, unless he's scouting now and sort of doing work behind the scenes without officially being manager, it's going to take him a month to get up to speed. And we're going to panic by at the end of January. January's notoriously difficult anyway. If we're waiting until then to bring a manager in, then try and bring 6 or 7 new players in to suit this new manager's style, it's a real uphill battle.
There's also the contract situation. We've got 13 players out of contract at the end of the season. Some of them, you imagine, will just go on. People like Mate, for example, I don't think he's going to be sticking around. They'll leave of their own accord. But some of our better players, like Callum O'Dowd, has been a shining light in the last few weeks because he, plays left back, plays left wing, tries to do a lot, scores goals against Norwich. Will always try and put crosses in and try and get beyond the man. He's out of contract. What must people like him be thinking at the moment? If there's no manager in place and we're relying on potentially a manager coming in January, if he gets an offer in January, why wouldn't he take it?
He's not going to be short of them. He's been brilliant.
Yeah,
I think tonight, one of the problems we had, and it's not I thought Bagan had a decent game as well, but
I thought Bagan was good.
Yeah, our best left back is our best left winger as well.
Yeah.
Our massive issue is we haven't got more of him. Yeah. He's a fantastic player that can play at a much higher level, especially now he seems to be getting a good run of games. He's staying fit. He's making stuff happen. If I'm him, I'm using this as a stepping stone and going, right, this place is a shambles. I'm off ski.
Yeah. Well, the optimism's rolling in. Phil Jones says Slaven Bilic is not the answer. He's no messiah. He doesn't stay anywhere long.
Does any Cardiff manager stay long?
No. At least Joe Colwell is going to rip up League One, starting for us next season. So that's pretty good news. Over 1,000 of you joining us at the moment. So thank you very much, everyone who's tuning in. If you are on our YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. If you're on Twitter and you don't follow us, please follow us. Ben, going back to the game tonight, as Scott Evans points out here, 13 corners, if I remember, only actually one troubled keeper, says it all really. Does our ineptitude from set pieces and crosses worry you now? Obviously, last season, out of, I think it was 43 goals that we scored, some were including own goals, 20 of them were from set pieces. This year, we can't seem to get anything from a set piece. Why have we gone so backwards at set pieces?
The players that were scoring those goals aren't getting near the ball anymore. When was the last time you saw Gutas sort of win a header for a corner from us? It's really weird. Sort of his positioning seems to have changed for those corners. Don't know if it's teams wising up to it and marking him out or what, but yeah, he's not getting anywhere near them and isn't in the positions to get them. He's sort of staying in the centre of every ball's going back post. And they're good deliveries, but like I said earlier, you've got a striker that's not the tallest going up against, like, those QPR centre-backs tonight were big boys.
They were big boys.
So they dominated it and just, it was a comfortable evening for them, really.
Yeah, James Kirby, he says he thought Nadri in goal was inspired. Inspired might be overdoing it a little bit, but he was very comfortable, wasn't he, with everything we threw at him? He was very good from the crosses, came out, punched balls, caught balls, wound down the clock when he needed to, made the saves he had to save. He wasn't bad, was he, Ben?
No, I don't think QPR were bad at all. They're not a good side, but their game plan worked to a T. Came in, they got that early goal and just set out to frustrate us and slow the game down as much as possible in that second half. They did that. They did just that. They got everything right and they got a second on the counter. It's cliche, but that is the perfect away performance, isn't it? That's what sort of a lot of teams go out to do away from home. They smashed it. Their keeper just dominated everything. Just really, really comfortable evening.
Curtis Shapley says, no intent, no direction. Absolutely disgraceful. Riza substitutions were pathetic. 3 single substitution. Lewis Geely, he echoes that. Shocking game. Subs all wrong. No fight whatsoever.
Who would you have subbed though, Ben? We were talking about this. The bench suddenly looks very weak. The players that came on all made sense. Like, there's all this talk of Reindorf sort of coming on and doing this. but Robinson couldn't touch the ball tonight. He couldn't get anywhere near it because he was marked at the game. You stick a young lad on to make his first appearance in the Championship in a game like that, he's not going to get a touch. I mean, he was on the bench over Kanga, but that weren't the game for him tonight, unfortunately.
I think the only other people on the bench that I would have brought on is I would have potentially brought on Reindorf, just because I'm at the stage where it's like, fuck it, what's the worst that could happen? If you bring on Reindorf at that stage, he showed against Southampton that he can sort of make things happen with minimal ball, right? The ball will come to him, he can get out of a little jam and he can make something happen. But I completely understand why Riza might not have thrown him in. And I think maybe when Turnbull came on for Rawls, I maybe would have brought Rinomhota on instead. But that's only because I think Rinomhota is a bit more progressive when he gets the ball at his feet, right? And he's going to bring the ball out of the midfield, while Turnbull's going to look for a pass. And when we've been trying something all night that hasn't worked in terms of Rawls trying to find a pass as well, then why not try something different? But that's if I'm being picky. I think you're right in the sense that our bench this week, we've got Fish and Darland on there. You're not going to change the defence in that game. If you are, you're going to bring him on for an attacker, which they did. Brought Mate on for Dimmy. And Siopis. And that's not a game for Siopis because the guy, well, I like the guy, but he can't find a man in blue, can he?
No. His first touch is chasing a second touch, and his second touch is chasing his first touch, and that's very much the way I play football too. So I kind of respect it in a way. Poor touch knows poor touch. Yeah, the bench at the moment is a real worry, isn't it? Sort of. There was no.
Everything's a worry, and the bench is more worrying than other things.
Yeah, but I was just looking at. I was looking at FotMob. Please sponsor us.
Yeah, sponsor us, FotMob.
Just looking at that and just sort of you looking at on there and the squad and going, Willett comes on, then you're going, right, after that, I've got no idea who's going to do anything. And you're relying on a bloke that scored one goal for us this season. It's sort of been underwhelming to do that. I'll be honest, I've written Mate off. I don't think he was bad when he came on, but I don't think he's particularly good either. It was just a sign of we just haven't got a bench, have we? And when that doesn't work, and when Colwell and Tanner aren't linking up like they should and just not getting forward.
I thought Tanner started quite brightly. In the first sort of 10, 15 minutes, he got past them, he put some crosses in, but then he just completely faded.
Yeah, and looked really frustrated when he came off.
Yeah.
But we just lacked ideas any time we went forward. I think that's the bit that really frustrated me more than anything was just... It was static, man. It was just no movement. No one sort of making a move to try and make something happen. They were just completely clueless there. And like the crowd got really restless towards that second half of especially in the Cannon, sort of at the lack of movement. And it was totally understandable because just what do you do in that situation as a fan? Like you've got to sit there and just watch the same thing happen time and time again.
I was going to say, the whole thing felt flat, right? There was a bit of kind of excitement at the start of the game and we were kind of pushing a little bit. But then as soon as they scored, the energy was sucked out of the ground. And there were times in that second half, you said it got frustrated at the end of the game, and they did. But 50 minutes to 60 minutes, it was so quiet there. The air was crackling. Like you could hear individual voices and you could hear the air making noise because there was absolutely nothing going on. And that's where we've got to, isn't it? Like these people always go on about you should make your home ground a fortress, but we're not doing that at the moment because they're not giving us anything back. The fans then aren't giving anything to the players, and it creates this kind of atmosphere of it's just flat, and it's so depressing. Yeah,
completely agree. I reckon there was 300 in the family stand tonight. That's an issue. I know it's midweek and it's cold, but there was hardly anyone. There was more QPR fans in their side than there was in the family stand.
It was on the live stream that it panned out after about 5 minutes after full time and the ground was empty.
Yeah.
It was like there was nobody in there.
We stayed as soon as that second goal went in, there was more of a queue to get out then than there was at full time.
Yeah.
And that is the reason we stayed, to be honest, because we were like, well, we're not getting out anytime soon anyway. So it's just, it's the apathy is well and truly set in.
It has.
Looked across at the director's box, and lo and behold, the only one there is Steve Borley.
Yeah.
The bloke who cares the most is the bloke with the littlest say. And that's a real sad sight of where this club is as far as that goes. There's no accountability from them.
No.
And they're the ones that have put us in this. It's not on Riza. He didn't get it perfect tonight, but he didn't get it wrong either. It's just embarrassing where this club's gone tonight.
Well, we'll get into that. I'll just cover off a few of the final comments on the game, and then we'll talk about what happens next. Sloper Road Blues says, Mate isn't good enough. We take Gutas off, and we concede. Reese Spear says, well, chaps, I'm taking my own advice, and we'll listen to the rest tomorrow. Cheers. Great pod as always. Good night, Reese. Danny Walsh says, Chambers is supposed to have Premier League pedigree. He's brought nothing. Well, he's brought a bit more than nothing. He's brought mistakes that cost us goals. Where else are we? If Reese Williams says, if we're relying on Reindorf to save our season, then we are fucked. Miles Besson on our early conversation, got to be a coffee number one for me, lads. Wayne Richards says, keep playing like this or we'll be swapping places with Wrexham. John says we were missing El Ghazi. Phil Jones says, can anyone explain to me while Colwell stayed on for the full game? He was dreadful. Reese Williams says, never ever double up on the socks. Ben, have you learnt your lesson?
I thought that was what you're supposed to do, is double up on socks, because that's how you sort of stay warm.
It's like condoms. You should never double up on condoms. Creates friction that then causes more likely to split. Trying to find other topics to talk about.
Who doubles up on condom? No, let's go back to
people think it's safer to double up because you're going to get more protection, but it doesn't. It creates a friction between them that's more likely to cause them to split.
The more you know.
The more you know. Jim Swindonbank, where's the exile? Surely it's breakfast time in Australia at the moment. Well, we'll tell him you said hello. We can't expect him to be at everything, mainly because he's got to work.
It's how bad it was, right? I stood in that stadium. Tom put that he's walking to work, and I thought, oh, you lucky bugger. And it wasn't because he's Australia, it's nice and hot. It's because he wasn't there.
Yeah, because he wasn't there. Lewis Marlowe says, what a shower of shit tonight was. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Right. There's some comments more generally. Thomasino Norman says, this club is very frustrating. Evan James says, where can I hand in my CV to Tan as the next manager? And what do the youngsters have to do to compete with Mate's place on the bench? Little Salt already covered this one. What the fuck is this season? Reese Williams, 125th season will end up with us relegated. Riza should go and open a kebab van outside the ground. That's his level. Cardiff City 23, we need to be sold to people who know how to run a football club. Ben, what are we going to do with this football club? Charlie Cottrell, friend of the pod, who I went to the Bristol City game, commented at half-time that these are the games that Tan and Co should be attending. Come and see what no director of football and short-term reactive planning will give you for your investment. An echoey 1/3 full stadium watching a miserable bottom-of-the-barrel championship game overseen by a manager with the credentials fitting of the standard. Lifelong fans are still paying to watch this, but for how much longer? The only way is down. And that's what it feels like at the moment, isn't it, Ben? We've been, we didn't do a podcast on Sunday, mainly because we were so apathetic about doing a podcast and talking about the same things every week. We're here tonight because we said we were going to be here tonight, and we felt like we owed our adoring fans, all 1,400 of them who are watching and listening now, something, a little bit of morsel of content. But we're here now, and what's changing at the football club? There's no more clarity on Riza's position. It feels like he's going, but no one really has a clue. We've already talked about it, but the Bilic rumours aren't going away. It sounds like they're holding out for him. If you're Riza, I would have just walked away by now because it feels like you're not getting any clarity or any backing from the board, any backing from this football club at all. But by the same token, he's got to stay, hasn't he? Because he's kind of committed to it, and this is his opportunity to show us what's going on. But the fans and the people who are going to these games just haven't got any clarity. There's never any clarity from the board, and it's your favourite topic, Ben. So I can let you rant on it if you want, but the club has never been so badly run, has it?
No, it's getting worse, isn't it? It's sort of the pillar of optimism and joy who I watched the game with tonight. Hugh Kinsey sort of summed it up best.
He's never negative, is Hugh, and I know Hugh.
Positive, absolutely positive. Today he was positive. He hates Perry NG. He was very positive about that. To be honest, he just hates Cardiff City. He's positive about that. But yeah, he was just something of it's a directionless club that just we're getting what was coming to us. I think that's what he said was, we're getting what we deserve. Birmingham got it last year with, they flirted with it for so long and then they went down at some stage,
basically.
Yeah. At some stage, our luck's going to run out and we're going to get what we deserve. And based on tonight and the way things are going, I think it could be that. And this is a lot of people say this is very reactionary. A few weeks ago, we were talking about the prospect of playoffs and stuff like that. But a lot's changed in that by not a lot changing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
By being so stagnant, we've gone backwards massively. And that's where we sort of belong. Because again, we were excited at that point with things going forward of what could come, what could happen. And none of that's come to fruition because the management can't get their shit together. The ownership sort of put us in this position. They got lucky. Riza sort of went on that run and could have built something really special. He could have done it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the reason I was sort of hesitant on sort of backing him to get that job is because of this situation of the fuck knuckles upstairs that sort of control this club. They're the problems with this. They're the ones that have caused this again by a massive lack of communication.
Well, that's exactly it, right? In a vacuum of communications, which any good football club, I think when Riza came back from Malaysia, it was either this week or last week. I can't remember the exact kind of timelines on it. He was saying the board will come out and clarify this towards the end of the week. We're now at the end of next week because it was either last week or the week before. So it's either 2 weeks ago or last week. He was expecting the board to come out and clarify it, and we've heard nothing. And in the absence of any communications and in this vacuum that it creates, a destabilizing situation has arisen because nobody has a clue what's going on. And all it would take is, if it's not going to be Riza, the board need to communicate that. If it is going to be Riza, the board need to communicate that, because otherwise the club's going to become more and more destabilized as the weeks go by.
Yeah. They think that they think they're doing something right by not putting stuff out there, or I don't understand the logic behind it. We deserve to know. Look, people spend a lot of money supporting this club. Like, there'll be a stupid amount go up to Coventry on Saturday. There was a great support going to Sheffield on Saturday after a weekend of Wales away, and sort of like a good trip there. People spend a lot of money following this club, like just home and away constantly. It's not cheap just even to do home games.
No.
Treat us with respect and just sort of give us the respect of saying that this is where we're going. Just again, it's just the same shit, isn't it? Like the reason we didn't do a podcast this on Sunday, to get one out this week, was just because we didn't want to talk about it. But here we are being forced. Just being forced to talk about it again. I don't want to come out of that stadium miserable. I want to come out there enjoying it. We were at the Wales game the other week or last week, and it's the same stadium, but they couldn't feel further apart, the experiences at these games. The disconnect between the fans and the club is massively different to those there with the Wales thing. Like, just people were excited to be there for Wales. There was a buzz about the place. There was an energy. The music was great. It was just, there was sort of an aura there that the second it's a Cardiff City game evaporates because there's no connection there.
Well, I've started putting something together in the background in terms of like, going to watch your football team is meant to be a kind of release from everyday life. It's meant to be something fun at the end of the week that you go, you see your mates, whatever. You enjoy 90 minutes of football where 11 finely tuned athletic machines run around and play some nice football. But going to watch Cardiff City games has become a chore. Like, there's nothing at the ground that, I get it. Being a football fan is about supporting that football team. But like you say, the ground isn't a very welcoming place to go. You go to that ground and they've got not particularly good beer options on the tap. The food isn't great. You stand in a cold concourse, which is bare brick for the best part of it. There is some nice photos in other places, but it's not exactly like the fan zones that other grounds may have, or the stuff to do in there that other grounds may have. You go out, the ground's not even half empty anymore. It's probably 2/3 empty. We're probably getting 12,000-13,000 at a game at most. Obviously, that you do the numbers and it isn't 2/3, but it feels that way because the noise rattles around in there. Like, you go to other grounds. We went to West Brom the other week for the away game there, and it felt like there was an atmosphere there. It felt like the fans were on top of the pitch. It felt like the fans were there making noise. You go to the Cardiff City Stadium, you can't make noise because it's half empty and there's nobody there to kind of carry the noise. It's just not an enjoyable thing anymore.
Yeah, there was nothing about tonight we went to Nando's tonight before the game, and that was the highlight.
I'm sure I'm going to get in there because people like to ask us what a Nando's order is. What did you order?
Chicken butterfly. Well, funny story, Kinsey got delayed in work, so I was sat there for 40 minutes. So if you're waiting for a table at Nando's and you saw a dickhead on a table of 4 as one person, just slowly eating a pot of hummus, I do apologize. I do apologise, but Kinsey was late. It took 40 minutes. I was sat there 40 minutes on my own when it was quite busy, waiting for him to turn up just to order the food, and I felt like a right knobhead. But yeah. So hummus as a delay tactic with a bottomless drink.
Nice.
Then chicken butterfly, extra hot, and then I double carbed with garlic bread and peri chips.
That does sound delicious.
It was good.
Josh Patterson says could have played till next Wednesday and not scored a goal. Thomas Cook says, how are your holidays, Thomas? The club will never recover from the red kit rebrand. Never, ever recover. Giggsy, the other week I was thinking about the 3 teams that are worse than us. I thought we had that space to be safe again. Now we've gone backwards, and I can't see that there are 3 clubs worse than us after the last few games. Robert C. says, imagine being an American and choosing to follow Cardiff City. I choose pain. Robert, you could have always picked Wrexham. I heard they're quite big in America at the moment, and there's still time to change.
Imagine taking that gamble 5 years ago. I don't know when sort of Robert became a City fan, and fair play to you for choosing it. You're fucking mental. But imagine if some mad bastard taking that gamble, going, right, all these Welsh clubs, which do I want? I'll pick the one that's non-league. You pick that, and now you're doing that. Fucking that'd be a hell of a result, wouldn't it? Instead, you've got this, Robert. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the cesspit that is Cardiff City Football Club. I mean, Ben, realistically, at the start of the season, it felt like we were further away from relegation than we've ever been. You know, last season was a big step forward. As much as you can criticize Bullet's tactics, you can criticize how bad or good the season was in reality. We've gone from 21st to 12th. That represents a step change in everything that we were doing. Now it feels like we're as close to relegation as we were in that season under Morrison, Hudson, Lamucci, Dean Whitehead. He should not be forgotten in all this. Are you genuinely worried for our future in this division? You know, we talked about it. We're one place above the playoff places. The teams below us, QPR have changed their manager. Hull haven't changed. Hull have changed their manager. QPR have kept their manager. You know, if we roll the dice, it could go either way. But Hull could automatically improve now because their new manager, their season manager this year was a disaster. If they bring in the right manager, they could easily leapfrog us because they're only a point. I think it's not even a point behind us. We're level on points with them. Yeah, it's a long way of saying, are you worried?
I think we're really in the shit right now. It's not just sort of like, it's not just a case of looking at like the points and stuff like that. You look on the pitch at the moment, it's gone backward. Like we said earlier, that was the most Errol Bullet-esque performance we've seen this season, and Bullet wasn't there. No. And it's just, but we deserve it, don't we? It's sort of.
Well, no, we don't deserve it.
No, sorry, the club deserves it.
The club, Vincent Tan, Mehmet Dalman, Ken Chu, they deserve it. Gareth Davis has said 3 weeks ago it was. Oh, it's the wrong comment. I'll come back to the other one. Why is that gone? Well, I'll read it out anyway. I don't think we'll end up going down this season, but we're going down eventually. Tam will take us to League One. Gareth Davis says 3 weeks ago. Ben, stop it. I'm doing it. I'm in control. 3 weeks ago, it was we endorsed Riza. 2 weeks ago, you guys were worried he was going to be snapped up by someone else. And if you went back to the Bristol game, you'll have noticed on our Twitter page, that I said this is why he should never be given the job. So I was right from the first instance, really.
But I think Gareth's missing the important point where we said this isn't Riza's fault. I think we've sort of said this, that again, this situation isn't. We were excited of what could happen with Riza, and sort of the prospects of what to come. The club's delay tactics and sort of putting everything off and sort of just no planning has caused this. This isn't a sort of knock on Riza. Sort of we endorse Riza was also the LinkedIn jokes as well. So there's context with that. But it's not. This isn't a Riza out, or this is putting the blame on that bloke. I think he's doing a good
he's doing the best job he can in circumstances.
Yeah, the bloke's been given the shittest end of the stick constantly. Clearly the management don't want him to get the board. He's constantly get the job. He's constantly being bombarded in questions of, do you want the job? He clearly wants the job, but it's not down to him. It's not on him. It's just the ownership and just the way it's shitty run.
Aaron Hawkins says, where's the Aussie geezer? He's the best one. Well, I would 6-1 to be a Plymouth fan right now, Aaron. Get it. They lost 6-1 last night. And they lost at the FCAs.
I was just about to drop that in,
That makes 2 of us.
At least we know how an iron works. Ask one of your mates, how does he know how an iron works, huh?
Reese Williams says, no post-match statement from Riza. Club could be late in pushing it out. There was another comment I wanted to find, but I can't find it. Interim bounce well and truly over from Kumasta Blaster. Great name. It does feel like that, doesn't it, Ben? And I think what I would say to Gareth and the comments that we just went through there about endorsing Reese and all that kind of stuff, we are, in essence, a reactionary podcast because we record something every week. We just try and be excited about what's just happened. If there's been a good performance, of course we're going to be excited about it and we're going to get on the Riza bandwagon. If there's been a bad performance, then it's going to go the other way. So I don't make any apologies for that. I think we're quite measured generally in what we do, and I think we do generally land on the right way of doing things. But being a football fan is about being excited. If you can't get excited when you've won a game and the manager's a new manager, then when can you get excited? And at that point, the form table didn't lie. We were, I think, top or at least second in the form table. So he was doing something right. One last comment from Aaron, the Plymouth fan. Want to swap managers? No, thank you. Before we get on to Coventry, Joseph Williams asks, what would be both of your first choice managers to come in out of the realistic options? Robbins for me. I still think it's Stephen Schumacher for me. Aaron Hocking from the Plymouth Argyle podcast, Argyle Life, will know that I've been banging that drum since the summer. And think he's probably the best option out there for just working with what he has. And I think he would be a good choice. Ben?
Might be controversial, but as long as he doesn't bring his assistant with him, I'd take Steve Cooper.
I totally forgot about him.
Did a great job at Forest in very similar situations, to be honest. But my worry is that this job's more like the Leicester job he's just lost than the Forest job the job he could have done at Forest. So yeah, he didn't stand a chance at Forest because he managed their rivals. Unfortunately, he's done the same with us, hasn't he? So, but
that is a big City fan, though.
That's true. Yeah, but who knows?
Cooper. Lee Johnson says a lot when a half-time pint is the best part of the night. Can't remember if I read that out, but we're coming to the end of this now. Eric Wynne Roberts, I don't blame Riza for this downturn at all. He's inexperienced. Tanner's left him hanging for far too long without clarity on this future or the clubs. Anyone would be struggling by this point. And I think that's the truth of it, really.
Yeah.
We've had some Coventry fans in the chat. Let me see if I can find them. The Sky Blue Deck says, don't worry, Cov will help you break your away day duck on Saturday as we are a mess. And you're getting messier if you're hiring Frank Lampard, which is the talk tonight. He is being appointed. Ben, Coventry must be your favourite game of the season after any team that's managed by Lee Johnson, just because of your vitriol towards the place.
Yeah, 20 Coventry fans listening. My condolences for living there. It's just
not personal.
It's no. There's some lovely people in Coventry. There's also some absolute fucking rotters as well. But that's the same in any city. It's just your city's amazingly grey, and bad and terrible and just the worst. But the club's all right. I don't mind the football club too much. I've never really said that. But
do you like him now that he's sacked Robbins?
No, I like him less for that because he seemed like a good bloke.
He is a good bloke.
And I feel like their ownership have looked at what Birmingham did with the big name and went, yeah, let's do that.
Let's try it.
Yeah, fair play to him because it ain't going to work either because Fat Frank going in there might work for a few weeks, but I don't see that being a long-term thing.
Well, I mean, he could only finish in the playoffs with Derby when he had Mason Mount, Harry Wilson. I don't suppose he's got those players, has he, at Coventry? Is Saturday make or break? Is it make or break for everything? I don't know where I'm going with this, but it just feels like all of a sudden we're in disaster straits again.
I don't think it's make or break. I don't think tonight was make or break really, but it's
we're already broken.
Yeah, it's just a frightening glimpse into our future. I feel at the moment.
Slow roll down to League One.
Yeah, that's more of what it was. It's not so much a crash as it's very much a very slow decline.
Well, I've said it before, right? It's like Birmingham last season. They kind of walk into it. And I think that's what we're effectively doing. If it's not this season, it might be next season. If we bring Bilic in, Bilic goes either way, right? The guy could...
Nothing wrong with that.
The appointment of Bilic could go either way for the football club. Because he's had success at places and he was very well liked at some clubs. But at the same time, he's failed at other jobs and he hasn't done a particularly good job in recent years in the jobs he's been in. If he comes in, hits the ground running, then yeah, it could be great. But all of a sudden, if it doesn't, and we're already in trouble in January when he comes in, it could go really, really bad, couldn't it? It could get really. It's toxic now. It could get really toxic.
Yeah. You need a manager in this situation that knows how to manage basket cases. And Bilic's main experience, his main experience with the basket case club was at Watford, and it didn't go well.
No.
So that is a big worry for me. But maybe Tan sees something there that he thinks is going to work. But there's someone in the comments said earlier, Bilic isn't the answer because he's never anywhere long term.
It doesn't stay long, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a worry for us at the moment. I think, like, manager-wise, staying long term, that's never going to happen at the Tan. No. We're on 6 million in his sort of time at the club.
I think I did the numbers on this. It's something like it's almost like close to 20 in 12 years or something.
It's if you count in sort of interims and stuff, it's a massively big number. It's underrated how sort of mental our manager turnover has been. The fact that Bullet was the first manager to start 2 consecutive seasons sort of shows how bad it's been since Warnock.
15 managers since Marky Mackay, basically.
Yeah,
it's a lot, isn't it?
Mackay wasn't his appointment. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
No, he wasn't his appointment, was he? No. Seth, generally, you should prepare a quiz for the weekend when we're at a shite, lads. Maybe I will prepare a quiz. I did look back over our win. We'll round this off soon. Thank you to everyone who's listened. Ben needs to go to bed. He's very tired because his socks made his feet cold. I did a quiz that we never saw the light of day. That was win percentages at the managers who'd been linked to the club after Bullet had been sacked. And if you look at the list, Freya Alexanderson, Stephen Schumacher, Nathan Jones, Brian Barry Murphy. Remember him? Alex Neil, Nigel Pearson, Ryan Lowe, and Tony Mowbray they were like the top 10, I think it was at the time. None of those managers have been linked with us since. None of those managers have got jobs. I'm trying to think. Like, obviously,
the one that has been linked for the job is the Cortig guy, Alexanderson. Is it? He's been linked. He's Alexanderson's going to become the new Iceland manager after their manager resigned after losing to us 4-1 on the other day.
Good. I mean, I had a look at the table the other week. Coventry are they're doing what they always do. They're in the bottom 4. They're headed towards that relegation playoff.
They're solid bottom now. They're firmly rooted.
They're solid bottom. I checked that on Sunday, and they were second, I think, from bottom.
Yeah, firmly rooted to the bottom. Simic is out for a few weeks as well. Alexanderson, that was, I think, my favourite quote from the weekend. That was something I was going to bring up. Was talking about why he's not been playing so much, and it's because he's not. He basically said he's not used to playing in terrible teams, so he's been too used to having the ball. And we need to introduce him to our way of playing, which I thought was sensational.
Well, he's going to do well at Cardiff then, isn't he, Simic? He's going to come into a team that is loaded with attacking talent and a team that's designed to give our strikers the football, as we demonstrated tonight. All we do is create chances that a good striker will put on his plate. But that's enough from us for tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined us. It's our first ever live stream. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone who's flooded the comments. Tried to get through as many as we could. Sorry that we couldn't. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're already on the YouTube page, just click the subscribe button. If you go to youtube.com, search VFT Ninian. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/VFT Ninian. We'll be back probably on Sunday, Ben, when we actually got another game to talk about, and we'll be really happy to talk about Cardiff City again.
Yeah, look, we might win and we might be delirious and booking promotion parties. Who knows? We're reactionary at this stage.
We did talk about on one of the pods whether Tom had looked at flights to fly over for the playoff final. So maybe we did get a little bit carried away.
A little bit. That sounds like something Tom would do, though. I don't think that was us. We're sensible lads.
We are sensible lads.
It sounds like something the Rangers loving, England fan and sort of
rugby lover,
yeah. Just all round.
And he's not even here to defend himself, so he can when he listens back to this one or watches it back when he's at work, he can enjoy that little bit of an Easter egg at the end of you.
He won't be listening to this. Nigel Farage's got a podcast out. He's listening to that instead.
All right, that's a bit too far. We're gonna end it here. Thank you to everyone who listened. I mean, the numbers are still rising. 1,800 of you listening to us, so thank you very much. We hope it was cathartic. Ben, any last words?
I think it's 11:05 and there's over 1,800 people listening to us talk this nonsense is wild. Thank you all. But remember, Tom Phillips is the worst one.
Yeah, he's the worst one. And good night from us, and not good night from him, because he's the worst one. See you on Sunday.